Welcome to Plugged and Unplanned with Tony Nash. I'm the CEO of Booktopia, and today I'm very excited because I have an author, a friend of mine, Gabby Leibovich, CEO, founder of Catch of the Day originally, and entrepreneur, serial entrepreneur. He's written a book. He can now call himself an author as well as a successful entrepreneur. And his new book is called Catch of the Decade, and it's subtitled How to Launch, Build, and Sell a Digital Business. Now, for those of you who know me and know entrepreneurship and have a passion for it, this is a book for all of us. Welcome to the show, Gabby.
Thank you, Tony. It's a pleasure to be here today. This is my first podcast, since the announcement of the book on the 1st of October, and I'm planning to do many more. So let's hope that we do well today.
Yeah, right. Thanks. And congrats. And of course, also to your brother Hezi, because he's named on the book as well. So he's not with us today on this chat session, but he's been with you all the way. It's the two of you, family, the same as Booktopia.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a story of two brothers with strong accents that started with absolutely nothing. And in the book, we talk about the benefits of doing it with someone else. And there's so many of them. And but one of the most interesting one is it's a lot more fun doing it with someone else than doing it by yourself.
Yeah, that's a good point, isn't it? I mean, the two of you. I mean, I know Hezi, probably not as well as I know you, of course, but you're a bit. I won't say chalk and cheese. You're aligned. My brother and I are the same, and my brother-in-law is different again. Having that, going into business with a partner, be it family or not, and to have those different attributes, those different drivers, has that been easy for you guys to work with, or has there been battle rooms around the dinner table in a weekend at a barbecue? How have you guys navigated your way through that?
Tony, I'll start with a line that was said by our first employee, Vijay Bala, after 10 years of knowing us in the business. And Vijay said the following: this business would not have succeeded with two Gabbys or with two Hezis. It really needed one of each. Hezi hates PR and marketing. He doesn't even have his photo on LinkedIn. But Hezi knows that I will be doing the PR and marketing for the book, and I'll be doing the PR and marketing for the next business that will hopefully launch in 2021. Whatever it may be. But I know that Hezi has a lot of other skills in building the skeleton of the business, because I am very non-technical and he loves the technical side of the business. I can continue on forever, but I've got my set of skills. He's got his set of skills. We all know what we are good at, and we also admit to our weaknesses at what we are not so good at. And it's great to be able to have two contrasting, and I would describe us as chalk and cheese in many, many ways. On the flip side, there's a lot of similarities. Both of us have a very strong risk gene. We like taking risks. The most important thing, being brothers, we have complete trust. We never argue about money, but we argue about lots of other things. But those arguments come from love to the business. And we will fight forever if we believe in something. But at the end of the day, it's all for it has to be win-win-win for us, the business, and the consumer.
One of the things, actually, I always talk about double win-win, 4 wins, and employees as well. And one of the things that you guys have done very well is attracting others. It's not just about, I've got a brother or a sister or a cousin or a mate. You need to be able to bring in other executives and leaders and empower them. You guys have done that well. Booktopia has done it well as well. It's not just about the family. Just talk a bit about that, because employees need to feel that they are winning as well, because it's not sustainable if you churn through your team. What have you noticed with your own journeys and your own businesses that you've had?
Yeah, absolutely right. I mean, Catch is known for great culture, and it's not something that just happens. It's we've been doing it for 14 years, and people have loved working for us. They loved coming to work every day. Lots of people call Monday as a shit day. I think Monday is a shit day only if you got a shit job. If you love coming to work and you have lots of great people working with you and you enjoy the challenge and you're great remunerated in many ways, then work should be a lot of fun. I'll tell you what it says in the last page of the book. So the book talks about 200 bite-sized nuggets we call catches. Throughout the book, we talk about 20 plus longer style lessons that we have learned throughout the years. But the last page of the book basically puts it all together. And these are the lines. It's all about the people, those, 4 words. We always believed in surrounding ourselves with smart people. We always believed in saying and knowing what we know and knowing what we don't know. Just like I mentioned earlier, I'm not very technical and my brother doesn't care about PR or logistics. We wanted to make sure that we have the best logistics people, the best PR and the best marketing and the best customer service. And, the famous line in business, surround yourself with smart people and don't tell them what to do. I believe it was said by the founder of Amazon. And we certainly believe in that. And from what I've heard, you believe in that. I've been to your warehouse. I've seen the way it operates. You see lots of happy faces around. And I think that's what it's all about, I mean, we live once. We want to surround yourself with good people. We want to have a good time, and we want to enjoy it together with a team. Having been at home for the last year, number one, because it's Corona. Number two is because we sold the business. The part that I miss the most, Tony, is actually going to work and being surrounded by 200 of what I call my friends, and going with them for a walk around the park or for hummus in the local restaurants. I really miss that, Tony.
Yeah, but I'm sure your wife misses you being out of the house as well. She's like, go write a book so you can keep yourself busy, which is what you've done. And it's interesting having being a book retailer, which of course Booktopia is.
Yeah.
There are many books that we have where you just destroyed the customer's purchasing decision by telling the last line in the book. But thankfully, with your book, Catch of the Decade, by knowing the last line of the book is irrelevant because it's the 200 nuggets that you've got in the book that people need to buy, need to know, because if you've got your own business, and I assume even if you're an employee of a business, not necessarily even an entrepreneur, that there's things in there, initiatives, tactics, strategies that hopefully as a strategic member of that organization, that they can read those and still implement them and make an impact. Would that be right?
Absolutely. I mean, in the book, we talk about anything that's got to do with business and startup. Obviously, I'm a buyer and a trader, so we talk about buying and trading. But we also talk about PR and how to talk to reporters and how to get PR for your business when you're a David playing in a world of Goliaths. Something that I know you believe in very firmly is applying for awards and going to events and conferences and how important it is. And when you win awards, you need to scream it to the whole world and tell them how good you are, because Booktopia is playing in the world of Amazon, and you need to find a point of differentiation. We talk about marketing and branding and building, changing into a new logo. We talk about raising money and the whole investment process. Talking about logistics and building a robotic warehouse. We launched a robotic warehouse and we spent $20 million on it back in 2014. I know that you were a very early adapter as well, Tony. And, there's a saying that in Hebrew, if you cook during the week, you will eat on the Sabbath, And we've been cooking for a long time, Tony. And now, we're reaping the benefits while a lot of the bricks and mortar, retailers are really struggling.
Yeah. I mean, we always knew that everyone knew that e-commerce was growing, but the pandemic has definitely, issued a huge headline that that's the future, and the rest of the world was already is ahead of us still in terms of the penetration in e-commerce. But one of the things I wanted to check in with you, which is, I mean, you're saying for startups, but actually it's beyond startup as well. I mean, I know that Jeff Bezos says in his financial annual report, he always puts day one. It was still a day one in their business, which is a reminder that you always need to be thinking afresh and not assuming that you've made it. Which is, so startup is one part of it, but then you're talking about going through the various levels of growth and various levels of metamorphosis, change. You have to actually change as you get from one level to the next, and you've got to be able to let that go. The funding part of it. I mean, when you started, you, like us, you started off with nothing, and sales generated money that then was able to be reinvested, exactly like Booktopia. But one of the things that you did, which Booktopia took a lot longer to do, was able to get funding. Is there anything you can share with us today about why funding, why you got funding and others? You probably saw you getting funding and others weren't getting funding, and you were going, but all you had to do was this, or you had to have this mindset. Is there anything that you guys did to get that over others?
Look, I'll tell you. I mean, this is pretty much what happened. So you started your whole questions with the talk about growing pains. So we've built a business, not even thinking about the word exit and not even understanding what the word exit means. Tony, when I started the business, I didn't even know what CFO stood for. We were traders selling on eBay 100 products a day, 200 products a day, 300, and it just kept on growing. It grew by word of mouth. Our revenue in year one was 7 million, in year two was 17, in year three was 37, 60, 137, 226. We doubled the business every single year. And when I we doubled revenue, we doubled warehouse sizes by moving 5 warehouses in 5 years, doubled the amount of parcels shipped, and so on. And that growing pains is crazy, Tony. As you know, it's like non-stop hiring, non-stop trying to find solutions for the next problems. And we suddenly found ourselves in 2010, and people announced us as Hitwise #1 department store, the most watched Australian online shopping site. And we suddenly found ourselves on the cover of the BRW and making all those, silly list of top 100, top 200 of this. And just out of the blue, we started getting phone calls from every single VC based in New York, based in Asia, and based in Europe. A lot of Australian successful retailers and high net worth individuals started inviting us for lunches and dinners. And at the end of the day, they all wanted a slice of the business. And I remember in, one month, sometime in 2010, someone valued us at 50 million. 2 months later, someone else valued us at 80 million. Someone else then valued us at 120, 150. The numbers just kept going up. And then we met Tiger Global, amazing VC based out of New York, that valued us as $200 million. We obviously talk about that in the book. And it was a number that we couldn't say no to. And we sold 40% of the business, and we took home $80 million. And that's how chapter 1 ends, with the following words: our life was never the same again. It definitely changed our life forever for many, many reasons, both in terms of business, both in terms of exposure, and in terms of, my personal life and all the benefits that come with success.
So did that, it didn't stop your hunger, interestingly. I know one of the things that people ask me with doing a capital raise, well, now that, I mean, we've not taken money off the table like you have, but, what are you going to change your mindset? Do you talk about how that's still, because you did, that still inspired you to be even bigger and bigger? It didn't like, oh, well, here's 40 million for you, Hezi, here's 40 million for me, let's buy the house, let's buy let's buy that. And basically you could have stopped and you could have said, we're done, but it didn't. You kept on going.
Look, we never sold the whole business. We only sold 40% of it. When VC come into your life and business, they have one aim: to keep growing it. And that's how chapter 2 starts in the business, with the following lines: Lee Fixel, the main investor, told us, "Hey guys, you've done really well getting the business to where you got it, but from now, let's keep growing it in a big way. And what you need is rock stars. Rock stars is the terms the American use for, smarter people than yourself that will help you take it to the next level." And then we introduced a new CEO and a new CFO and a new head of marketing and so on and so forth. And the message was, let's keep growing. And over the next, year and a half, we've launched the following businesses. We've launched a business called Scoopon that played in the travel space that competed against Groupon. And we launched a business called Grocery Run that started selling groceries way before Coles and Woolworths. And we launched a business called Mamgo that played in the mom and baby space. And we launched the most successful business that we ever launched, a business called Eat Now that basically brought restaurants into an app and allowed you to order your food delivery, something that we all know and use almost on a daily basis right now. And we're all familiar with the market leaders, Menulog, Uber Eats, and Deliveroo. So we've done some amazing, crazy things, even though we are very well known for product and retail with the, household brand name that we've built, Catch. But we've actually played in 4 different segments: retail, services, food, and travel. And for that reason, I think this book will be very successful because it will be read by, if I'm the CEO of JB Hi-Fi or any of those, companies that play in this space, I would force my workers to read this book during Christmas and learn from our successes and mistakes.
See, can you tell everyone, you can see that Gabby is a salesman. He is selling all the time. But just, I want to share with everyone the proceeds of this book are going to charity. Correct?
Yep. We're not making a cent out of it. It cost me over $100,000 to write this book, Tony, between all the expenses that go with it. Every single cent is going to the following 2 charities that we like. Number one is good360.org. The reason we chose it is because it's in the space of retail and we are retailers. And the other one is Second Bite, basically delivering millions of meals every single day to needy families. And sadly, there's more and more of them right now, during the Corona period. Back to your point, Tony. Yes, we are always selling. We are proud sellers. We talk about it in the book in those exact words, and we'll keep on selling. Everyone needs to be a salesman, whether you're a doctor, whether you're a lawyer, book salesman, and certainly a retailer.
So when you catch up with friends that you grew up with in Israel or here or wherever, and they think of what you and Hezi have accomplished, do they just shake their head and go, "I cannot believe that there was the 2 of you that did that," or did they already see that in you when you were young? And I ask that question because my friends sometimes say, "I cannot believe what you did with Booktopia," because at school there was no kind of inkling that I was the one that was going to go on and do this. In fact, the least likely. So what about your circle of friends? What do they say?
Yeah. Look, Tony, we started this thing very late. I turned 50 3 weeks ago. So 14 years ago, at the age of 36, I started selling online. It's not a young age. I mean, if you follow the startup scene, and we all do, I mean, today, any 19-year-old can build $1 billion business very, very quickly. But interestingly enough, roughly around that period of my life, they launched this thing called the internet. And prior to that, I was a retailer working in my dad's business, something similar to a Good Guys JB Hi-Fi store, selling televisions and cordless phones and fax machines and microwaves, just like the Dire Straits song goes, And then they launched the internet, and I was right there at the right place at the right time, not knowing that it is the future. So I don't know, I feel that I'm, a form of an accidental entrepreneur, I was there at the right place at the right time, choosing the right model, but not knowing that I've chosen the right model. You remember very clearly, Tony, 2006, where, when you mentioned online shopping, you got customers asking you the questions, is it safe to use your credit card online? And when I approached suppliers asking for stock, most suppliers told me to piss off. And the main reason was, you don't have a physical retail space, so we don't want to deal with you. I mean, how laughable it is right now, Tony, especially as we've just experienced the period of COVID-19 and 2020, whereby having a retail outlet has become a hindrance for growth, while e-commerce are absolutely thriving, flying, and reaping all the benefits of the hard work. To answer your questions about my friends, I don't know, my close friends are still my close friends. I don't hang out with the rich and famous. So my close friends have seen that trajectory of growth from me selling 10 products a day to selling 10,000 products a day. So it's been very gradual. So I think everyone sort of have accepted it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Booktopia, I started that when I was 40 as well. So for anyone listening, it's never too late. And the one thing that I think with Booktopia, because I started it on a budget of $10 per day, and it was a little evening project. So very similar, without any light bulb moment or great vision. But the one thing that I was able to do early on, because of my perspective, was identify the opportunity that others were not seeing. And I talk about that when I do my public speaking, and maybe one day when I write my book, is about having that three-dimensional perspective that you can see things where everyone else is seeing the world as flat, but you're seeing the world as spherical, and you can see your viewpoint is just so obvious. So did you have that as well in the beginning? Did you have that kind of like, guys, you can, I mean, you were selling, you got feedback very quickly. You started selling, and then you started selling more. Your growth was much greater than ours in terms of the doubling and the doubling and the doubling. We did not achieve that in our category of books, but you were getting feedback from your customers that you're on track, but then just knowing that the opportunity was there, was it really obvious to you?
Look, we launched this business called Catch of the Day in October 2006. We came up with a silly model of selling one deal a day. I remember going to our first bunch of suppliers, telling them that we are planning to launch a business that would sell one deal a day. And I think most of them probably thought that we are crazy. I mean, first of all, none of them understood the whole online thing. Secondly, one deal a day at midday. One day you're going to sell a DVD player. The next day you're going to sell a pillow. The next day you're going to sell a battery charger. But somehow the model worked. People ask me many times, Tony, why did your business succeed and while others in e-commerce did not? And my answer is always, we are better buyers. So I think in our DNA was always better buying and the ability to source product in a great way. There's a lot of retailers that would buy this book, and one of the message for the retailers that they all know is, you make your money when you buy the goods, not when you sell the goods. And we managed to source products at cheaper prices than anyone else. Why? I'm not really sure. It's about who we are. I was the only buyer in the business for the first 2 or 3 years. I was driving in the van, knocking on doors, and when the doors were not open, I was going through the window. And then you find the third door, and you don't take no for an answer. And by this stage of my answer, I forgot your question, Tony. But
the thing is knowing that you're on track or off track. The feedback's coming thick and fast. And so you knew that you're onto something, and then you continue to, I guess, go after it even more aggressively. But you move. How long did it take you to move from one deal a day to then multiple deals? Because that's what happened.
It actually took about more than 5 years. And as I was researching the book and looking at old pages and old emails, I was even surprised to see that it's taken us that long. But yes, if you look at our pages in 2011 and 2012, we were still selling one deal a day. And let me tell you, Tony, it was a lot of fun because it's very easy to pack 3,000 of the same product. And I know that on some days you will pack 3,000 of the same book, and hopefully it'll be my book on the 1st of November. And that's very easy, simple, and profitable. But as you grow your SKUs and your range, the wider the SKU, the harder it is to pack, manage, And then you need a much wider team, whether it's in marketing, customer service, warehousing, and so on. But we found ourselves around 2012 or so with such a large business and such a large following of customers that we could no longer find a single deal that will satisfy the hunger of our customers. And that's why we had to go sideways, and we launched what we call events. Events was, again, catch of the day on steroids, whereby instead of selling one pair of shoes, we would sell 100 pairs of shoes or 500, electronic items and so on.
Mm. So when you were on your journey, I know you've got a lot of it in the book in terms of things that didn't work out, and some of the war stories, which we all have, and people need to realize that when you're in business, things come out of left field that you didn't expect, that you don't want, but they happen, and you have to be able to say, bring it on. Because if you don't, then it's just going to be an exhaustive and painful journey. But things come out. What are some of the things that you really you've had to kind of overcome, endure, tackle along the way?
Okay, so one quick one that comes to mind, sometime around 2017, this business called Pumpkin Patch that we all know and recognize, that sells apparel in the space of baby and kids, went out of business. A 40-year-old New Zealand business. Cut the long story short, we looked at the opportunity. We jumped on a plane to Auckland, New Zealand, and we bought the business for a couple of $1 million. We mainly bought a database, and we spent the next 6 months relaunching Pumpkin Patch. What we didn't realize is that it was very, very different to what we knew. And what we knew until that day, and what we've been doing very well for the last decade, is buy end of lines and clearance of branded goods and offer it to the consumers at a lower price. Pumpkin Patch was a very different business because we suddenly had to go to China, design kids' clothing, manufacture kids' clothing, photograph kids in photography sessions, and while at the same time run a very successful catch of the day business. And you have to build a whole new team around it. Cut the long story short, Tony, because we don't have the whole day for it, it was a very big mistake. It was not who we are. It was not part of our DNA. And, I give us credit for realizing it within, shorter than 12 months. And we sold it to a New Zealand company called Easy Buy, perfect fit for them. Again, we could have turned it into a successful business, but there's a line that I like to follow is when you have 10 ideas, 9 of them are normally the enemy of the one. And this was the enemy of catch, because if I or the marketing person or the finance person needs to worry about Pumpkin Patch, then we are detracting or taking away from the growth of our profitable business.
Yeah, that's a really worthy lesson. We also bought a camera business in 2015 because I'm into photography, and that, like the guy with the shaver, I was so impressed I bought the company. But in the end, that was, let's call it a learning experience, and we learned a lot. There were so many things that we didn't have to do the deal about manufacturing our own children's wear, but what I didn't realize, because in books everyone is happy to sell their books. All publishers are happy to sell their books to anyone. It doesn't matter if you've got a mind, body, spirit business, selling crystals, whether you're a practitioner of healthcare. Every publisher will set up an account with a business to sell books to them. In the camera business, some of the big manufacturers, we're not so sure. We've got enough retailers. Thank you. Like, really? You don't want someone else to sell your product? No, not really. And I just couldn't believe it. So it was after that I realized we've got to get more into books. And so we became a distributor. So now publishers in Australia, around the world, have appointed Booktopia as their distributor, which is, of course, a whole different thing, because we're now selling to the resellers, to the bookshops and to other businesses, as well as to ourselves and to Amazon and so forth. So, and then we got into publishing. We got even deeper. So now authors are publishing. We missed out on your one, Gabby. I realized that, but John Wiley got you, but we are publishing books as well. And so it was from the camera business that we learned a lot about what we do well and what we need to do. So very similar. So let's talk about your biggest success, Eat Now, because that's really freaky. That's an entrepreneurial, like put your money down and get, and win the $100 million lottery ticket with very little. You guys did even better than that. That was quite freaky. It's like one of those things. The time was right. Menu log, or there was a bidding war that went on to buy that off you, and there was a group of 3 investors, which you and Hezi were one of those 3. How did that happen, and can it ever happen again, to have sold a business that had been going for under 3 years for $850 million?
Yes, so we spotted the opportunity. One of the things that we talk about in the book is that you always have to keep reading, following your industry and seeing what's going on. And we spotted that food delivery is hotting up around the world, in Europe and the USA. In Australia, there was only one player. It was Menulog, and they started probably 7 or 8 years prior to us. In 2012, we launched a company called Eat Now, and started growing it in the Australian market. Within a couple of years, we were second to Menulog, who were still obviously leading the market and doing really well. We talk in the book a lot about keeping your enemies close, and we're always in relationships with our competitors, whether it's Menulog, whether it's Adam Schwab, whether it's Russell and Kogan, and so on. And you've seen me at many conferences, and I shake hands and I move around, and we're just nice people that people want to hang around. And it's a very long story, Tony, that we could have written a whole book just about that. But in early 2015, the companies of Eat Now and Menulog merged and became one company. We took 30% of that, slice, and Menulog kept 70% simply because of the size of our companies. What happened then? We suddenly owned about 95% of the food delivery in Australia. Can you believe it? And imagine it today. Just to put it in perspective for the listeners, both Deliveroo and Menulog have not entered the market nor launched at that time. As soon as we merged, there was a bidding war because all the Amazons of food delivery from around the world wanted to get, the Australian market. And the business got sold only 4 months later to a company called Just Eat from England for the silly price of $855 million. The BRW reported it as a sale at a multiple of 371 times EBITDA. We still scratch our heads every single day, and we don't really understand, how it happened and why it happened to us. But, we talk in the book about needing to kiss a few frogs, and Pumpkin Patch was a frog. But at the end, when you kiss a few frogs, you end up finding your princess, and our princess was the Eat Now Menulog transaction.
Crazy, hey? Because if you think about all the effort and energy that you've put into Catch, and what that sold for, which was still very handsome as well, but for the run that Eat Now and then the Menulog merger got, and how that came about was really unexpected.
Tony, one of the reasons that we're able to launch other businesses like Scoopon, that later on merged with Luxury Escapes and Grocery Run and Pumpkin Patch, and of course Eat Now, is because we've built an amazing incubator at Catch. And when we launched Scoopon, we basically went to the Catch audience and told them, hey guys, you like buying products from us? Here is a very similar business that will sell you services and discounts on restaurants and entry to your local Luna Park and so on. So we relied on this amazing machine that we've built, amazing marketing machine that we've built in order to launch businesses in various verticals. So, for example, Booktopia could launch a whole new business in a completely different vertical simply because you are shipping today, Tony, 20 or 30,000 parcels every single day, and you've got a captive audience that you can divert in various directions. I'm giving you a business idea, Tony.
Thanks. Well, if you want to invest, you better get in quick.
Okay.
That's an interesting one because we know we have a lot of data. We actually know at Booktopia whether someone's about to have a baby, whether they're into fly fishing, if they're thinking of traveling to the Kimberleys, if they're learning a language, if they want to write a book. We know so much about our customers, but we've not done much with that. It's just sat there. So you're right. There is a lot of data that organizations have as part of what they do as business. One of the things I wanted to ask you about then, though, for entrepreneurs, with all that money coming to you and Hezi, just in terms of your own personal mindset or values or beliefs, do you see in others that they sabotage that opportunity? They could have had what you guys have. Do you have a certain kind of mindset that goes, look, I'm going to attract that kind of abundance to me because I think a certain way, versus others that don't? Is there anything that, and I know you talk much about, look, I'm just a salesman, I just sell stuff, and I don't even think about those things. But did you, from your observations, have you noticed a difference in the kind of people that end up being successful? And for the listeners here and those that buy your book, they need to perhaps go on a personal internal journey to perhaps reframe themselves if abundance is going to come to them.
Look, I mean, billions of books have been written about the way to define what an entrepreneur is, And as I mentioned earlier, we see ourselves as, accidental entrepreneurs. But I'll take it back to our childhood. And in the book, we talk about how everything started at the dinner table. My father is an electronics engineer. And he was always some kind of a trader. He was buying secondhand cars, refurbishing them and selling them for more. He was selling electronics through a retail outlet. And in our dinner table, we always remember talking about how to make money. I don't know how to describe it in any other way. We never talk about, the tennis results or sports. Even though I'm a soccer fanatic and my two most favorite topics is soccer and retail, it was never discussed at the dinner table. So we grew up at a very entrepreneurial house. My brother studied 6 years chiropractic medicine, and he started, practicing. And after 6 months, he just realized that it's not for him. It's simply because he's got that entrepreneurial gene in him. I'm going to stop here, Tony, because we can go on forever to try and define what an entrepreneur is, and there's lots of ways to describe it. But again, some people think that it's part of your DNA and you're born with it, while others will tell you that it's something that you can learn. But it's a combination of so many different things. But I'm proud and happy that I got some of it, and we all got some of it, which has turned our life and taken it in different directions.
I understand that, but I think what I'm alluding to in terms of the difference between those that can accumulate significant amount of wealth versus just being very busy making a lot of money and spending it all, and having and the difference between those two, because Robert Kiyosaki wrote a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad. Okay, his poor dad was a professor at a university and worked for a wage. He wasn't entrepreneurial, but his best friend's dad was. And there's a difference between, even when you start your own business and you're working, you feel like you're entrepreneurial, but if you're not accumulating assets and accumulating wealth, then all you're doing is paying yourself a salary to work and not have someone else to tell you what to do. Do you feel that when you go to conferences and you talk to other people, that there is a certain kind of belief or trait that person's going to actually make something? They're going to actually convert their idea and their entrepreneurial business into something of great value, because sometimes it feels like, to me, people sabotage that. They stop themselves from, with kind of like with the Eat Now menu log deal. Like, it just kept getting, in the negotiation, in the auction, it just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I know you've told me that it went like 3 times more than you guys thought it would go for. And lucky for all of you guys. But do you feel like there's something that that you have that others don't have, that's an important thing for people to think about and contemplate, in terms of making sure that if they're going to put all that effort in and create something, that they're also setting it up that money's going to come to them?
Look, it's a bunch of things. I don't know if I want to touch on a few of them. I'm a very curious person, Tony. I'd like to learn every single day. I spend so much time on social media. I spend so much time reading the Financial Review. I follow news all around the world, and I think that learning is very important. We talk in the book about what luck is, and luck is Hebrew is the word mazal, M-Z-L. And we say that M stands for makom. Makom is a location. You need to be at the right location. You need to go to conferences. You need to shake hands. You need to move around. We talk about the Z in Mazal. Z is Zman, which is timing. Timing is so important. And sometimes it's about getting the timing right, and sometimes it's about getting the timing wrong. And the L of Mazal, the limud, which is learning. It's about learning. It's about educating yourself every single day. Curiosity is something that's very important. Of course, it has to mix with hard work. You cannot go to work from 9 to 5 and expect to build a very, very successful startups. You sit there at midnight, Tony, and you think about how to grow your business. And so do I, even in my so-called retirement. I cannot stop. It's who I am. It's part of my DNA. We always think about problems, and we always think about finding solutions to solve those problems. It's who we are. It's way past the monetary benefits of it. All I spend every morning is $5 on a coffee, Tony. I don't need any more than that in life. My life is quite simple. I have my car and I have my house, and I don't know how much money I have in my bank account. So if once you get to a certain stage, it's about the excitement of building something from nothing that wakes us up in the morning, and the knowledge that you want to solve, some form of a business pain, and succeed in it.
So if I can feedback and the way that I'm processing that, and for the people that are listening to this, I think many of us aspire to have even a tenth or a quarter of the wealth that Gabby and Hezi have accomplished, and we'll all be doing very well. The way that it's come across to me, and I think this is really important, is that the money is not the destination. Absolutely. The money is a milestone along the journey, and it may change the direction of the path that you get to take. You may get to take the high road or the low road based on how much money you have, but it won't make you happy. It won't fulfill all of your life. And in many ways, for those of us who are married or who are in relationships or have been in relationships, it's very similar. The wedding day is not the day. It's not going to mean that the rest of your life is going to be perfect. You have to work hard on your marriage. You have to work all the time. You've got kids. You've got other things. You've got family, friends. So it's interesting, I think, for all of us to realize that the money. And talking about someone who came from, obviously you didn't come from nothing, but you started your business with nothing, and that it's not just because you made it and there's a payday that it doesn't all end there. It just continues on, and perhaps in a different way. I think that's really important for all of us to consider and to think about, because if we get obsessed about this big payday destination, then it's going to be very unfulfilling, and potentially it could all drift away if that's what it's all about.
Yeah, Tony, we talk about the book, about the concept of David versus Goliath, and we talk that we've enjoyed being David a lot more than being Goliath. And when we sold the business, Catch was already a Goliath of industry. And I'll be honest with you, in my last 2 years at Catch, together with my brother, we didn't really do that much. It was already a big monster. It was moving really fast. It was a boat that's not so easy to steer anymore. And I think we much more enjoyed the early days of starting something and having that challenge and fun of being a David in a world of Goliaths. And it was the same with Booktopia, I believe, because there was always have that Goliath of Amazon in your rear view mirror. But congratulations to you, as they say. With the growth of Amazon and with the arrival of them in the market, it's given companies like Booktopia and Catch even a greater push to be able to become a lot more than we've ever imagined.
One of the things that I share with people is that when Amazon hadn't come to Australia yet, and was maybe 4 or 5 years ago, so it had been a couple of years before, there was no word of them coming, but I knew that eventually they would, and I did my own research, and I went around the world, either digitally or even while I was traveling to some of the book fairs, and wondered, in an Amazon mature environment in North America and Europe, what was it about those companies that made them do well? And everywhere I looked, it was because they focused on one thing and did that really well. And it was at that time when I realized we needed to offload the camera business, get into distribution and then into publishing, and be more about books, because that then bonded us with our customer base. And I think that's one of the things that Catch has done very well. You've been very easy over the years for consumers to identify who you are and what kind of service you provide. I know you've said it, and I repeat from what you've said on stage and some of your public speaking events at conferences, and I'll try and do it in your own accent. What we do here is we sell shit at prices people can't refuse. That's my Gabby Leibovich impersonation. Yeah. But it's true. It's like you said it earlier, you sourced product at an incredible price that meant the value proposition, the product was still of need and was good. It just at a really good price, it tipped everything over. And that's, I think, as budding entrepreneurs, we all need to be thinking about what is it that consumers want, where's the value proposition, and how can we make that happen for them?
Tony, Catch grew on the concept of FOMO, fear of missing out. We launched products at midday, and we had thousands of people and millions of people waiting at midday to see what today's deal is. In many cases, the deal sold out within a day, within 4 hours, within an hour, or within 20 minutes. And those that missed out basically said to themselves, shit, I'm going to come back tomorrow and make sure that I'm going to see what tomorrow's deal is, and I don't want to miss out on it. I'm very proud to say that in our first 5 years, Tony, we didn't spend a single cent on marketing. Our marketing was basically word of mouth, people telling their friends about the latest pair of shoes or toaster or DVD player or whatever it was. People love showing off to their friends, the latest bargain that they managed to track down.
That idea, though, even though that's where you started, and when it kind of kicked off, that's still a compelling offer. Why do you not do that anymore?
Which one?
At 12 o'clock, the deal is coming out and everyone's waiting. That's still a compelling offer. I know you got bigger and bigger. But that's still, I think everyone would like to still have the opportunity.
I have to agree with you, and we've tried to introduce it on a number of occasions over the years. But again, I think the ship was already so big. The truth is, Gabby and Chezi, the drivers of strategy, got to a point where we just, I wouldn't say didn't care as much, but, didn't work as hard as we should have. But look, the business, the business moved on to, bigger and better things. And I'm sure that it will keep on growing under the stewardship of Wesfarmers. Will it be the same catch of the day that we've built? Most likely not, Tony. It will turn into something else. But the brand is very strong. The audience is there. The machine is operating. And I'm very proud to say that we've built a business that will be here for, many, many years to stay, that hopefully my grandchildren will be buying and using in the future. So we'll forever be known as the founders of Catch. And, sadly, and happily, it's not our business anymore.
Maybe you might have to do a Kerry Packer and buy it back off Wesfarmers because they've stuffed it up, and you come in and do an Alan Bond. Like you were not in Australia, I don't think, at that time, but basically you may have heard the story where Kerry Packer sold Channel 9 to Alan Bond and then bought it back for like a tenth of the price that he sold it for, or something like that.
Sure. Everyone knows the Alan Bond analogy, and who knows, time will tell. But as I mentioned a few times on this podcast, we love retail. Retail, it's part of us, and you just know that we'll be doing something else in the future.
Yeah. So, look, it's been so wonderful, Gabby, to have you on Plugged and Unplanned, and congratulations. Gabby has his new book, Catch of the Decade, and 200 nuggets for entrepreneurs. And even if you're not an entrepreneur and you maybe want to be an entrepreneur one day, why not get the cheat sheet? He's gone through all the, as they say, tsuris, all of the agony and the ecstasy. It's all there, written in the book for you to fast track. Congratulations, and it's all to a worthy cause. Two worthy causes, Foot 360 and Second Bite. All the proceeds are going to two very important charities. So, Gabby, thanks again for coming on the show, and mazel tov on your book.
Thank you, Tony. It was an honor and a pleasure, and I'll always remember my first book podcast with Tony.
Yeah. Gabby Leibovich, entrepreneur, author. all the best.
Thank you, Tony.
Thanks.
Thank you for listening to the Booktopia podcast channel. Don't forget, you can subscribe to us on SoundCloud and iTunes for free and get access to hundreds of author discussions, book analysis pieces, and more. Or, if your eyes need a workout, head to Booktopia TV on YouTube. Don't forget, for all books featured in this podcast and for access to a whole bunch of other fun content on our blog, head to Booktopia, Australia's local bookstore, at booktopia.com.au.